Welcome to my unconventional studio. I've made this video for the modular bass platform, the link is down in the description, but it may be of more general interest as well because my studio is kind of sonically holographic. My studio has developed according to my professional needs over the years and according to my unconventional understanding of what music and sound really is. My studio is arranged in a U shape with me sitting in the middle of everything. The left wing is inhabited by an old new do-it-yourself module case here. Some little desktop synths and of course patch cables. I don't know whether you see them down there. I made this case here some years ago, but substituted it by a larger one, which I bought, one in the center of my studio, and I'll show you this case in a minute. But then I had to take this one here, into use again, as my studio had to grow quite fast in the last months because of my new book project, which I'm currently working on. See the link down in the description. All right, I never write about something that I have not done and not tried myself, and so it became necessary to buy quite a lot of new gear and new modules. These two modules here in the upper cabinet are quite old ones. I've been using them for a really long time, I don't know for how long, and they are not available anymore, these two, Grandpa and SPA expander. It's this Grandpa module and the expander from Bastel Instruments in Brno, Czech Republic. I use them for hardware granular sound processing. The next two modules, Expert Sleeper's FH2 and Behringer's CM1A, are MIDI to CV converters. The FH2 is very complex, this one very complex and powerful. The Behringer CM1A here is rather basic. I had to buy the FH2, this one here, to demonstrate certain virtual to hardware techniques in the context of the book. And I think I've already told you that I'm writing one again. The next three modules here in the case, well, no, not the next three modules in the cabinet, but in the case, this one, and this one are sequencers. Well, steps is more than just a sequencer. The ARP 2500 replication, this one here, would actually belong to the larger main case, which I mentioned before and which I'm going to show you. But I needed these three modules, these three sequencer modules together because of a video production about sequencers and how they can work together. Next to steps, here is a quite small but extremely interesting module. It is the ADAC light to CV module, which translates light intensities to CV values and which allows me to adjust the gain, the sensitivity, and the response curve to brightness changes. I'm going to experiment with this module, test it out, and when things work out as I expect them to do, I will move this module to a battery-driven mobile setup and record some CV developments generated by illumination effects outside of the studio. This Gork Volca drum was the star in an article which I wrote for the May 2026 issue of my e-magazine Signal Path. See link down in the description. Again. And Behringer's Pharaoh Mini, this one here in front of the case, sitting in front of the case. Pharaoh Mini was and still is needed in the composing class with my private students. And when there is no lesson, I park it in the studio here, where it, just by the way, does a pretty good job here from time to time. I'm holding the camera by hand. I hope it's not too bad. Let's approach the center region of the studio now, where the majority of my sound design work is processed. Two more Volcas over there are sitting in the back, but still in arm's length reach, the West Coast inspired Volca modular and the first version of the Volca FM. The latter one I used for my workshop about frequency modulation and phase modulation, and the Volca modular, the upper one. Well, it was a fun buy, and I had a lot of fun indeed with this little machine over there. But it turned out that it was, or still is, also a very capable tool when it comes to metallic sounds, generating metallic sounds, and making textures, background textures. The mixer is a relic from my old studio, the studio I had before we moved to this destination. It's old but reliable. I mainly use it together with Tapeworks. And that's just one small fraction of the main attraction, to quote Janet losing her innocence in the Rocky Horror Picture Show from the 1970s. And here I have my main module case. There are 3 gateways to and from the outside world, 2 of which are meant to integrate software systems on my PC and my whole hardware setup. The first of this is Expert Sleepers, DC coupled here, DC coupled audio interface ES9, and the second is Dopfer's CB and gate, to MIDI interface A192.2, this one here. And the third gateway is Befaco's in-amp module, which helps bringing outside line levels and Eurorack levels to one and the same level, like ship water gates do on a river. The upper cabinet here, and the left part of the lower cabinet over here are inhabited by remakes of vintage modules. You will surely recognize the old huge ARP 2500 inspired modules here. And perhaps you will also recognize the nearly 1 decade later remakes of nearly 1 decade later, but not less famous Roland System 100M modules over here, and one is here. Well, and the rest of the case is occupied by Behringer's semi-modular neutron, which unfolds its real power in an all-in-all modular environment. But the very heart of my studio is not a synth, nor an effect, nor recording machines, nor the computer. The real heart is the patch bay arrays over here. They're absolutely everything here in the patch base is patched in at the back, and all synths, all recording gear, all mixers, all effect pedals, the audio interface, etc., absolutely everything. And these patch bay arrays here make the whole studio one large modular synth and production machine where everything can patch into everything. Above the patch base there are the main mixer and the Focusrite audio interface, and below the Focusrite audio interface over here there is a really very vintage synthesizer expander, the Kawai G Mega, a machine with a terribly complicated and difficult to understand hierarchical menu system. But I've owned it for more than 3 decades by now, and I know every corner of this catastrophic menu and sub-menu mess without having to think about it. I use it mainly, but I don't use it so often, I admit, when I feel the need to do some more old-fashioned or old-school workflows. I love pedals. No, not these ones, at least not right now, but these ones. Especially the Walrus Fundamental Ambient has gained a place in my musical heart recently, and together with the aforementioned patch bass, these 4 pedals enables a nice and extremely practical hands-on approach to tweaking sounds. I mentioned sequencers a while ago. There is another hardware sequencer in the studio, a sequencer which I like to call my hardware sequencer workhorse. It's the good old Arturia keystep, which I find even nicely playable when not used as a sequencer. Next to the keystep and in front of an what I mentioned tower, which I'm going to talk about later, there is the Behringer Crave synthesizer, which delivers, besides a really great sounding synth engine, sequencer number 5 in the studio. Are you still wondering why a whole chapter in my upcoming book is devoted to synchronizing an army of hardware and software sequencers? And don't forget the patch bass, the effect pedals, the two Eurorack cases, not to mention the PC, see you later. You think you can imagine what is possible with these old cassette and CD pieces of gear? You can't. Even I myself discover new, let me call it new reactions of my sonic material nearly always when I fire up these engines. Well, and then there is this vintage Roland XP 60 workstation. I've also an XP 80, but it's safely packed over there. I don't use it normally. I admit it's pure nostalgia to keep this workstation here. I use it mainly as an oversized MIDI controller, MIDI keyboard, together with the Nano Control 2, the Korg Nano Control 2 here. There are too many memories linked to the Roland XP machines, and I need deep DAW control functions much too rarely to replace the XP60 plus Nano Control combo with a more up-to-date MIDI controller keyboard. And then let me just mention the increasing number of little tidbits like the stylophone beat here, or the old Korg monotone delay, or this Teenage Engineering PO3, what is it? Yeah, the 33KO, and so on. And the number is indeed increasing. And this is because of my newspaper, my e-magazine, Synth Signal Path, because when I write about something, I told you, I think, already, then I use it at first and try it at first and try it out. And so I have to buy and buy and buy little tidbits for one of the series in this magazine. Okay. And there is the PC, there is software, of course. There are VSTs and standalone software synths and effects, like some Arturia synths, and quite a lot of Cherry Audio synthesizers and rack mode effects. And not to forget the two huge modular software systems, Voltage Modular and VCV Rack, the free version, as well as the commercial one. There are DAWs. My go-to DAWs are Reaper and FL Studio, but I also use Ableton from time to time. And for my new book, I've bought and I'm learning Bitwig Studio, and I'm learning Cakewalk by BandLab. I need these for my book, for certain chapters in my new book. There are MIDI tools and other helpers, and there is Crescendo, a software to write musical scores in the classic way. Well, that's all, at least so far, but history goes on and on.